Alright, hello, I'm Chris, and this is my bodywork on a hood video. So the main thing about a hood is you got to put your car together and get that hood on there. It's so important to put that hood on the car and fit it before you even touch that hood, as you need to check these lines. A lot of people will sell these big block hoods that have been kind of buckled or something, and they'll have a high spot right here. This one's not even bolted down or anything, but this is a hood I had for 10 years that I matched up with this car and fits those fenders perfect. Has no bulges on it. I sandblasted and put this in epoxy primer about a year ago. Now, even though it was sprayed with epoxy primer, you will have little rust possibly coming back in certain places, so grind every single bit of rust out. You have to do that every single time. Abrade the surface or scuff the surface. This whole hood has been sanded with 80, D8 in some places, hand sanded on the edges. When you start your project, you have to make sure that surface is 100% clean, because if you have rust under there, it could come back, and if you don't have it scuffed, you have the issue of whatever you put on top of it not sticking to it. Got the hood 100% clean. We're going to spray one layer of primer, put a guide coat on it. So you got the guide coat on there. This is the most important part, where we're going to identify the dents on our part and see if it's even worth fixing. Now, if you're out there at swap meets and you see parts like that with the guide coat, you see that's the first step. Don't think that, oh, that part's been worked already and it's ready for paint. That guide coat on there sprayed like that doesn't mean anything. Right now, this is a $150 hood. Whenever we get done with it, it's going to be a $400 hood. So the flatter the surface is, the bigger you want to use a bigger block. In other words, if this was a flat hood, definitely be using this. But since we don't really have areas to go across, we just have these long areas, so it kind of changes the dynamic of it, where now you can kind of get away with a block like this. Does that make any sense? That we don't have a big square area, we just have long areas, so the length of this block will be enough. But the bigger the area gets across, then you'll need bigger blocks to try to square the whole area off at once. So we really don't need to use this block. Don't put pressure, just let the paper do the work. So you see what's going on here now. The hood's actually not in that bad of shape. I did half of it to show you what to expect. Now the guide coat, I just use a lacquer primer that doesn't react to the primers that I use. Just make sure you use a guide coat that doesn't react to the primers that you use. Low places, low place, low place, high place. This actually is very common. It's where they use too long of a screw on the hinge and it comes up and puts a high spot right there. Other than that, it's got a dent right there. Like I said, it had one across the top, but I had finished it, worked it a little bit. The main thing on a hood is you have this peak right here, so you want to go up to the peak and just make damn sure that peak does exist. Is anywhere there's a low place, I'm going to clean it out and I'm going to fill it with polyester. I'm going to go ahead and show kind of working this dent out. Can't access the back. Thought I could, so typically you're going to feel for the high spots around the dent, because when this pushes in, it's going to pop everything out. So you just randomly tap around. You're not going to screw it up. You're not trying to damage it. You're just trying to manipulate and bounce that metal to go in here and pop this back up. Usually it's not going to pop it back out, but it'll even this out better. This side, we're just going to leave it alone. A lot of times you can cause more harm trying to knock the dent out than just trying to get it good and then fill it. So we're going to fill it and we're going to cut it down. On flatter panels like this, the dent's right here, but you're going to want to go ahead and float like the whole area. Very tempting to use 36, but you really don't want to learn using this because you're just gonna screw everything up around here. So we're gonna hit it with 80. Takes a little bit of time to knock stuff down with 80, but that's all you're gonna be doing. Feathering it into the rest, and it'll come out. All this is feathered. It's got a low place right here still. This I can just tell it needs to be farther out. All right, so this dent has turned into a big bunch of crap. This is why people hate bodywork. I thought it would be a quick fix like that, but it's not. I've already been sanding on this thing for 30 minutes. It's all warped now. We're seeing high spots. It's just turned into a big freaking mess. Just that one little dent right there warped everything. Okay, so the only way you're ever gonna get this part straightened out is you gotta stop. Sand it down the best you can. We're gonna put 3 coats of heavy primer right here with the guide coat, and then we're gonna see what we're working with. Alright, so I'm going to put like 3 or 4 coats on it like that. We're going to put a guide coat on there, then we're going to talk about how to fix it. Now in this case, this block is too small. We're going to have to go to a big block with 80 because we need to reach across this whole panel now. You want to stop as soon as you start seeing metal anywhere. You want to stop. I thought that area was going to be a lot worse than that. It's really not a big deal. We're just going to feel real light. Try to knock that front piece out. Okay, so I just wanted you to see exactly what I filled on the car. Small low places. We're just going to block them out. Alright, when you get it close, like that, and finish it up with the long blocks, but don't go too far. Okay, so whenever you're going back with polyester, be careful just to barely sand it off. Then we're going to prime it, 3 more coats of primer, and let's see how this area is starting to look now. We pretty much floated both ends because they were all like little bumps at the edges. You want to stop before you go too far. There's low places, but if you're a beginner, you probably don't want to go back and float that with polyester because you can end up screwing what you worked so hard for. Now I got about 30 minutes of sanding that stuff off, so it takes a long time. Be patient. See, we got low spots right there. We're gonna go ahead and put 3 coats of primer over the hood, maybe 4 over the bodywork. We're gonna put a guide coat on there. I just want you to really see what the hood is looking like as we perfect it. Now, one of the main things you need to learn in bodywork, areas like this, you're gonna have 3 passes, maybe 4 that are complicated. But typical areas like that low place and this low place where we floated the whole thing, you kind of want to set yourself up where you get it on the 2nd pass at least. If you're taking 3 passes of filler to get low places out, you need to rethink your strategy on how you're applying that body filler. Now we have 1 pass of polyester all around here. I think 2. One of the main things is learning when to stop on your bodywork. Put the 3 or 4 coats of primer. See, we're doing the whole hood because this is restoration bodywork. The whole freaking thing is screwed up. So let's go ahead and start blocking this down. Okay, so we're still going to be using the longest block. Now you see we have a completely different looking panel now. After all that work right here, all that will block out with primer. I went back and sprayed a guide coat because I could feel a low place. If you feel a low place or feel something weird, go back and spray the guide coat a little bit heavier. See, we got 2 low places right there. Not a big deal. Okay, so let's say for example you still had this in body filler. You run your hand and you feel a low place. You don't know what is good around it, so just because you're going to re-skim it because you feel a low place, you might go back and block it and now screw all of this up that's already done. I don't know if that makes any sense, but now we can see that the low place is very small. Okay, so anytime you have low places like that, you always go back and scuff the crap out of them. Make sure that none of that guide coat stays in there. You want to get that crap off. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and do the other side. I'm going to fill these. Okay, so that's all we had to go back and fill. Those are real light. Now let me show you how to sand that so you don't screw the rest of it up. So I'm just going to use 80. Take your time, feather the edges with either one, and then slowly shape it with the block that's bigger than the dent. You want to leave a little bit. You don't want to take all of that off because then you're going to be cutting into your bodywork. See how we feathered all that around? Now, no pressure is being applied. Whenever you get close like that, just make sure it's gone. Make sure there's no low places. Leave it alone when you get like that. Just stop. The main thing is just knowing when to stop. Stop. You start trying to sand down where you see those 2 low places, you can possibly screw the whole freaking thing up. Alright, so we got it all sanded down, not too far. What you do want to do before you prime it is you want to kind of feather it in with 180. So let's see how we do that. Feather all this in. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get some primer on this. Remember to ease it over your bodywork. Okay, so now the hood's ready for the final sanding to go on to the sealer test. It has about 4 coats of primer. I like to go over it real lightly to check my work with 180. We're just going to try to cut the top off of it real light and make 100% sure that we're good to go on to the finer sanding to do our sealer test. Okay, so this is the block I'm using, just 180. But now we got to get all these freaking sand scratches out. And you can see what I was talking about, cutting it down with the 180. We're trying to cut all that kind of crap out. So that's all I'm doing, is just see, we're trying to cut those out. But whenever you have stuff like that, you're probably gonna have to go back and put more primer on it. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish it up. Okay, so I blocked it with 180 trying to cut it down for our final sanding, and we still have low places. So normally you would take the 1K glazing putty like in my other videos and fix that, or you could prime this out 3 more times. Unfortunately, I don't have any glazing putty. I don't have any more primer. Well, I mixed just enough to put 1 more coat where we were going to try to get the final little tiny sand scratches out before we hit it with 320 or 400. So I'm just going to have to leave that on there. I can fix that later, but I just got to get this freaking hood and sealer. So I'm going to go ahead and put 1 more coat of primer to kind of get in there and fill all the sand scratches, and I'm going to mix it 10% with more thinner or reducer than I normally would. We're going to put 1 light coat on here. Alright, got 1 light coat on there. Now we're just going to spray the rest over the freaking low places. Okay, so we got that primer on there. We're gonna only dry sand. I would love to wet sand it, but I don't want water going inside my freaking car. We're using the same type of block, just smaller. 320 dry. Does it kind of make sense how we're blocking it out? Same X motions throughout the panel. You really can't screw it up as long as you move around, because we've already shaped it with the longer and grittier paper. Now this is just polishing what is already squared off. See, it's real hard to see even in real life when you don't use a guide cover. You're trying to get all those tiny low places out. I'm gonna go ahead and finish this up. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish it up with 320, and then I'm gonna go to 400, and we're gonna do the hood all over with 400. Same sanding, same everything, and then we're gonna go ahead and put in a sealer, and we're gonna see what our hood looks like. All right, everything's sanded at 400 now. Edges are very important. See, at first we just like that. Now we're gonna kind of go more to angle. But keep the angle the same down the whole line. So like that. It's just like sharpening a knife, that you'll eventually cut them both evenly. Then you gently take your paper with no pressure, and you can kind of do that if you want to. No pressure. Just kind of giving you an idea on the edges. I'm going to work them a little bit more, and we'll check the work at the end. Alright, the stuff is chalky, so we're going to wax and grease remove it. Now, I was just trying to get that chalky stuff off of there. The one you do before painting is a little bit different with the tack rack. And all we're doing is just checking our body work, making sure it passes the test, where we can go on to paint that. Anyway, it came out real nice. Okay, so I think the hood passed the test. If you liked the video, please subscribe. Thanks for watching.